All-Star Weekend, a 3-day weekend during the month of February occurring every year, hosted by the NBA for NBA fans to watch their favorite players go head-to-head in a variety of events, exhibitions, and performances. But most importantly, the NBA All-Star Game. The All-Star Game, having a money prize pool, make players eager to participate in the event. Only a select few can be selected for the All-Star Game, as it is a prestigious accomplishment. Out of 4,800 players in the history of the sport, only 458 players can say they've made an NBA All-Star roster. Only the best of the best are selected. Many players slip through the cracks, like Zaza Pachulia and Jamal McGlure. But with that being said, a lot of players are not selected that should have been, and in this video, we'll be going over some of the worst All-Star snubs in NBA history. Starting with one where we actually have an explanation for him not making an All-Star lineup. To cover this, we'll have to go all the way back to the 1977-78 season. Kareem Abdul Jabbar was at the peak of his career as he averaged absurd numbers, putting up 26 points per game along with 13 rebounds and 2 steals. 2 minutes into the opening game of the 1977-78 season, Abdul Jabbar broke his right hand punching Milwaukee's Kent Benson in retaliation to the rookie's elbow to his stomach. Benson suffered a black right eye and required 2 stitches. According to Benson, Abdul Jabbar initiated the elbowing, but there was no witnesses and it was not captured on replay. Abdul Jabbar, who broke the same bone in 1975 after he punched a backboard support, was out for almost 2 months and missed 20 games as a result. He was then fined a league record $5,000 but was not suspended. Benson missed 1 game but was not punished by the league. This was the first and only time in Jabbar's career where he did not make an All-Star team. Abdul Jabbar had 39 points, 20 rebounds, 6 assists, along with 4 blocks to win over the Philadelphia 76ers the day the All-Star rosters were announced. He added 37 points and 30 rebounds in their victory over the New Jersey Nets in the final game before the All-Star break, just to show the league that this snub was a mistake. This will make Jabbar arguably the biggest snub in NBA history, as he finished 4th in MVP voting and earned 2nd All-NBA team nominations. Kareem made the All-Star team a total of 19 times in his 20-year tenure, which means it was bound for NBA greats who played in the same position and during the same time as him to be snubbed from an All-Star roster. No name bigger than the father of NBA future Hall of Famer LeBron James. A 5-time All-Star at the time of his big snub, Hall of Fame big man Nate Thurman was omitted for his prestigious honor in the 1971-72 season, a campaign in which Thurman was averaging 17.7 points and 15.1 rebounds at the time of the All-Star break. Thurman would also wind up getting 2nd team All-Defense honors this season, showing he was making a high level of two-way impact and not just putting up empty stats. The main thing that stopped Thurman from being an All-Star that season was just how absolutely loaded the Western Conference was in the front court at that time. Some of his fellow big men who got All-Star honors out of the West were Abdul Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, Bob Laettner, Elvin Hayes, and Spencer Haywood. It speaks to Thurman's greatness that he was even a 7-time All-Star in his career in what was such a stacked era for front court players. It does not just stop there, as post-play and post-talent reached an all-time high. So high, in fact, that another top 75 player in the history of the league was snubbed from an All-Star appearance. Charles Barkley will make 11 All-Star appearances in his Hall of Fame career, but NBA fans believe it should have been more, as Barkley was snubbed in his 2nd season. This season occurred during the 1985-86 season. By the All-Star break that year, Barkley was putting up 18 points, 11 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block for a 32-17 Philadelphia 76ers team. Numbers and a record that should have made him an All-Star in that campaign. Barkley did end up being named a 2nd team All-NBA caliber player for the 1985-86 season and absolutely dominated in his 12-game playoff run that year, putting up 25 points, 16 rebounds, 6 assists, 2.3 steals, and 1 blocks per game for Philadelphia that postseason. Philadelphia became 1 game short of the conference finals, only further proving why he should have been an All-Star in that campaign. We can just blame Barkley's youth and the East-loaded rotation of power forwards at the time. All-Star power forward rotation featured Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, although Barkley should have made it over Buck Williams. At the wrong place at the wrong time is a saying that we all know too well, and that perfectly describes who's next on our list. A well-known high-level player by the time of his 1996-97 All-Star Game snub. Phoenix Suns legend Kevin Johnson missed out on the honor that year despite averaging 17 points and 9.1 assists by that year's All-Star break. Johnson was quite efficient that season, shooting 42.2% 54% from 3 at the All-Star break and made a two-way impact averaging 1.3 steals per game. Johnson would take that snub personally, as the legendary 90s guard would go on to average 23 points and 9.6 assists while leading Phoenix to the playoffs. It was simply a tough time to be an All-Star point guard in the West that year, as Johnson was snubbed by Gary Payton and John Stockton, two of the greatest point guards ever. That wasn't the first time Johnson was an All-Star snub, however, as the same happened to him in the 1998-89 season, his second season in the league. That was before any of Johnson's 3 All-Star campaigns, so he wasn't quite as popular, but even so, the former Cal standout had a strong All-Star case at just the age of 22 years old. At the All-Star break that year, Johnson was averaging 18.5 points, 12 assists, and 2 steals, while shooting nearly 50% from the floor. Johnson's Suns were 29 and 17 too, so it's not like he was putting up big stats on a trash team neither. Still, Johnson just missed out on the honor, with the voters and coaches opting to go with Magic Johnson and John Stockton as the West All-Star point guards that year. Speaking of Stockton, although he costed Johnson 1 or 2 deserving All-Star spots, it's not like he didn't get snubbed. In the 1987-88 season, John Stockton's 4th season in the league, that year Stockton was averaging 13.2 points, 11.4 assists, and 2.6 steals while shooting 54% from the floor at the All-Star break for the Utah Jazz team that would end up getting to the second round of the playoffs that year and come within a game of the conference finals. Not only that, but Stockton will also lead the NBA in assists that season at 13.8 to go with 3 nightly steals and end up being named a second-team All-NBA nominee, showing how bad of an All-Star snub this really was. Fans might not remember it today, but there's a point in time where there's a legitimate argument who were the better point guard out in the West, whether it was Chris Paul or Deron Williams. Obviously, in hindsight, that debate looks silly, but in his prime, Williams was one of the best in the league and gave Paul a run for his money. Regardless, Williams was snubbed of All-Star honors at the height of the debate back in the 2007-2008 season. That season, the Utah Jazz point guard was averaging 19 points and 10 assists at the All-Star break, while shooting over 51% from the floor and over 40% from 3. The Jazz were a strong team that season too, finishing 54 and 28 on the year and getting to the second round of the playoffs, behind the stellar scoring and playmaking of Williams. What ultimately ended up costing Williams his All-Star spot that year was the fan vote, which saw NBA supporters vote in a fan favorite Allen Iverson as the All-Star starter at point guard, causing the coaches to have to use the other league guard spots on Paul, Brandon Roy, and 2-time league MVP Steve Nash, leaving Williams out in the cold. Yes, that was Iverson's last great year in the NBA, so he was probably deserved his All-Star spot as he averaged over 26 points and 7 assists that campaign. But Williams was the better player that season. As further proof, Williams finished the 2007 and 2008 season as a second-time All-NBA qualifier, while Iverson didn't get any All-NBA honors. So it is debatable who should have been in the All-Star game that year. Williams was also selected the following summer to play for a legendary loaded Team USA squad at the Summer Olympics as a member of the Redeem team. So ultimately, Williams, who would go on to make 3 All-Star appearances in his career after that, ended up bouncing back pretty nicely after the snub. Next up on the list, we have one of the best rim protectors in NBA history, winning a staggering 4 depoys in his career. That is no one other than Rudy Gobert. The 2016-17 season saw the return of the Utah Jazz as a Western Conference power. Not coincidentally, it also witnessed Rudy Gobert's rise as a defensive juggernaut. A 7'1", 245-pound package of impossibly long arms and unfair agility, he's the ideal counter to any offensive attacks. Challenging him at the rim is just begging for trouble. In the 2016-17 season, he led the NBA in blocks and better all-volume bigs and opponent shooting at the rim. Utah's similar spike from 40 wins to 51 had everything to do with Gobert's growth. The NBA recognized Gobert as an all-defensive first-teamer and all-NBA second-teamer, but the defensive dominance did nothing to sway All-Star voters. But this was not the only time Gobert was snubbed in his career. The next snub was even less forgivable than the first. It was the 2018-2019 season. His defense was as dominant as ever, and by the season's end, it would net him as the second straight Defensive Player of the Year award. He also claimed All-NBA third-team honors and fetched on an MVP vote for the first time. But none of this changed his All-Star fate. Even if most subscribe to the theory that defense wins championships, folks still didn't think it commands that kind of respect. Gobert had this to say after he found out that he was snubbed for a second time in his career.
Rough night. My mom caught me crying. It was tough, but it is what it is. It's always going to be that way. And, sorry.
And emotional Rudy Gobert this morning reacting to not being selected as a reserve for the NBA All-Star game. How's this for idiotic? The Warriors, Draymond Green and Andre Iguodala making fun of Rudy's emotion via Twitter. Seriously? Twitter idiots, or like I like to call them.
Although Gobert dominated the defensive end of the floor, the person next up dominates the opposite side of the floor, that being current Atlanta Hawk point guard Trey Young. Trey Young is an extremely skilled guard, averaging 25 points, 10 assists, and 3.5 rebounds in his career. This year, in the 2025 NBA season, could have marked the second time in Trey Young's career that he has been snubbed from an All-Star roster. But due to Bucks forward Giannis Antetokounmpo missing the All-Star game from a calf injury, it allowed for Trey Young to claim a spot on the roster. In back-to-back seasons, playing the best basketball of his career, Trey Young has been the only player in NBA history to average 20-plus points and 20-plus assists and not get selected for the All-Star game. He has tweeted all about this multiple times, most notably saying, "It's no longer called getting snubbed, it's getting traded. Sorry to my fans, it'll change eventually. Alright, talk soon." NBA fans around the world is still confused about the Trey Young All-Star situation. But what if I told you there was something more disrespectful?
Boo! Take y'all ass home.
And confusing happening in the same season. Domantas Sabonis may be the biggest snub of them all. He leads the league in rebounding and double-doubles. Sacramento has played 44 games and Sabonis has a double-double in 42 of them. Sabonis is 14th in the NBA in assists and is averaging a career-high 20.9 points per game. Rockets center Alfred Sengun averages less than Sabonis in all of those categories, yet he was still chosen to the All-Star game instead of Sabonis. Sabonis is arguably the most snubbed player on this entire list, but there is one more person that may give him a run for his money. That is no one other than Hall of Famer Dirk Ninsky. Before blossoming into the all-time elite, Dirk Ninsky needed a minute to get his feet wet. The 9th overall pick in 1998, the 20-year-old suddenly found himself in a new country and essentially at a brand new position since he revolutionized the forward spot. The lockout shortened schedule didn't help matters and he never got in a groove, but he sparked to life as a sophomore, then officially left the launching pad in year 3. The 2000-2001 season, his last as a non-all-star for the next decade, saw him simultaneously crack top 20 in points, rebounds, and threes. He was also a 7-footer with handles and a jump shot, and both he and Dallas were learning just how lethal that combination could become. The Mavs followed Nowinski's league, skyrocketing from 40 to 53 wins that season. The 7-foot sniper was credited with the 2nd most win shares and the 4th highest true shooting percentage. He was already a certified star, even if it inexplicably took the league another season to recognize him as such.